Welcome into Pigskin Perspectives. It is Thursday. Well, it's being recorded on Thursday, which you know what that means. It is time for a weekend preview. It's going to be week 8 of the college football season, week 7 of the NFL season. The NFL, a lot of bye weeks this week. We got 6 teams on a bye this week, so not as many games, but there are a few games out there. Should just be absolutely spectacular to watch. College football, there were multiple games that we could have had 2 6-packs this week, to be honest. But I want the best of the best. Don't want to risk, giving you an awful game in that 6-pack. So we're going to stick with the 6. So we got some pretty good games on here, I think. Let's just get into those as we always do. We always start off with the college game. We will start off with my week 8 6-pack. And of course, there was no other game that was going to start this. It is the biggest game in the Big Ten this year so far. One of the biggest games in college football so far this year. It is number 7 Penn State traveling to Columbus to face off against Ohio State in the shoe, number 3 in the nation. What an absolutely spectacular game this should be. Ohio State's coming off that big blowout victory over Purdue on the road in West Lafayette. Penn State coming off a huge blowout win of UMass in State College. So both teams coming off wins. Both teams currently undefeated. I'm 95% sure on that one. This game puts somebody close to the driver's seat in the Big Ten East right now. Obviously, there's another team undefeated in the Big Ten East, so it's not like rightful first place ownership goes to the team that wins this game, but it puts you on a path of looking better than, losing this game, I guess I'd say. I'm really interested to see this Penn State team because, for all intents and purposes, really haven't played anybody to the caliber of Ohio State. I'll put it at that. They haven't played anybody to the caliber of Ohio State yet this year. And that is going to be very interesting to watch because I think Penn State's a really good team. I think if they win this game, I think that they can make the playoff. I think they can win the Big Ten. I don't know if they can get that done, though, because obviously this Ohio State team looks really good. They seem to really be rolling into form, I'd say. It's just starting to get at that right time. It's starting to get to late October. That's when it starts to get real serious, and it's starting to feel that way right now. And Ohio State's really, they're starting to turn into the team everybody expected them to. So overall, this should be an absolutely outstanding game. Number 22 Air Force, the undefeated Falcons, travel to Annapolis to face off against the Navy Midshipmen. A game that's always a classic to watch. These two teams always seem to play a close game, mostly probably because, their offenses are similar, but no matter what, these two teams always put on a great show when they play. I'm excited to see this one. We mentioned on Tuesday, the Air Force quarterback who's led them to this 5-0 record is now out for some time, according to Coach Troy Calhoun. So we got to see how Air Force develops past that because, he was a very major part of that offense and getting them to 5-0. So how Air Force responds to that with their backup, going to be interesting to see. Not the best of games to, have him in, given that obviously these two teams play really close and that could get tricky. I'm being honest here, it could get really tricky. I could easily see Air Force getting their first loss of the season. And who knows, it could easily be their only loss of the season. But obviously that would still cost them a lot. But overall, this should be an entertaining game. These two always play it close. Moving on to 3:30, one of the oldest rivalries in college football. Tennessee, number 17 Tennessee, I should say, traveled down to Tuscaloosa to face off against the 11th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. I think it's safe to say both teams really haven't lived up to expectations this year. But this is still one of the most heated rivalries in college football, and the intensity is going to be there. Alabama lost last year's game on that last second kick, the first time losing to Tennessee in, like, I almost want to say like 15 years, somewhere around there. But Alabama's looking to obviously correct that loss, get a win back in the win column against one of their biggest rivals. Given that it's in Tuscaloosa, I'm giving them the upper hand here. But like I said, both teams truly haven't lived up to expectations this year. Both have played close games when they probably shouldn't have played close games, especially last week for both teams. And this game's going to be a test for both sides. I think both teams have played better teams this year, but I think these two are, I'll say, somewhat equal right now, I guess I would say. I think they're the most equal that these two have been in a while, I would say. Because even last year, I'll say Tennessee was I won't say quite an underdog. They were still an underdog. I didn't believe that they were on evil leveling as Alabama. But I think this is about as even as you're going to get with these two. So should be an entertaining game. At 7 p.m., you have Ole Miss. They're ranked. I don't know why the ranking didn't show up on the graphic here, but they are ranked. They're traveling down to the Plains to face off against Auburn. Auburn season not going the way everybody wanted, or Auburn fans wanted it to, I should say. But, I mean, this Ole Miss team, they look really good on offense. Their defense can't do much. They really can't stop anybody, if we're honest. So it's going to be interesting to see if Auburn can somehow find a way with their offense that they're not really there either. See if they can figure out a way to, get something building off of a bad Ole Miss defense. I still think Ole Miss win this game, though. In a battle for an ACC title berth, possibly, maybe a rematch later in the year in Charlotte, it is number 16 Duke facing off against number 4 Florida State. Duke has played, they've played Clemson, they've played Notre Dame. Those are their two biggest tests of the year. I'd go one more and say this is their biggest test and will be their biggest test of the year. I don't think they're going to pass it. I think Florida State's a really good team. They have a really steady offense and a really steady defense. And I think that's going to be too much for Duke. Obviously, Duke gave up that lead to Notre Dame. They had that game in control. Fell apart in the end. I think Florida State's on that next level compared to the Notre Dames and the Clemsons. And this is going to be a team of the skill that Duke has not faced this year. And I don't think it's going to end up turning out well for them. And finally, number 14, Utah, travel to Los Angeles to face off against the USC Trojans, number 18th in the nation. Coming off that embarrassing loss, I'd say, to Notre Dame because they just got blown out start to finish. We are going to find out what this USC team is made of this week because this is a game they need to win. And if they don't win this game, you can say goodbye to those playoff hopes, those Pac-12 hopes, most likely, and probably New Year's 6, because if you lose 2 in a row, it's just going to start it's like a snowball effect. And USC still got the toughest part of their schedule coming up. So USC, this is a must-win game for them. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get that done because Utah just looks good. If Canton Rising was starting, I think they'd look better, but obviously dealing with the injury. So USC, I think, is in major trouble come Saturday night. So given that is your six-pack of the week. Like I said, we could have done another six. We're going to stick with the six. But let's get into the NFL, the Sunday League. Like I said, we got 6 bye weeks this week for 6 teams. The Panthers, the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Jets, and the Titans all on bye weeks this week. So that only leaves us with 3 less games than we would have if they all didn't have bye weeks. So let's get into it. The Jags and the Saints are currently playing on Thursday Night Football as we record here. The Jags are up early. Question coming into the game was Trevor Lawrence going to be healthy? He looks fine. This is like one of those classic Thursday night games where both teams just are meh. They're meh. And there's really nothing you can gain or take away from this one. In a battle of most likely backup quarterbacks, it is the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Chicago Bears on Sunday. Jimmy Garoppolo out with a back injury. Justin Fields most likely out, it's sounding like. So both teams going to their backups. This could get very ugly. I don't think. Well, I know the Raiders are on a 2-game win streak. They're still not good. The Bears, they're the Bears. They haven't been good all year. So this game could get quite ugly. The Cleveland Browns travel to Indianapolis to face off against the Colts. The Colts out Anthony Richardson out for the year. They've decided that he's had the surgery. Hopefully will be recovered by training camp. On the other side, we don't know who's starting. Deshaun Watson saying, well, I could possibly start this weekend, but who knows? It's a rotator cuff injury that takes 4 to 6 weeks to heal, apparently, and you're still not going to be 100%. Most likely might need surgery. Who knows? I'm not a doctor. So it may be PJ Walker. We might have another backup battle here, and this one might get ugly too. The Browns coming off that big win against the 49ers leads me to believe that this is just a letdown situation here. Just given I've watched the Browns for a lot of my life, so I wouldn't be surprised there. But on paper, the Browns should win this game. The Buffalo Bills, after playing 2 ugly games in a row, traveled to New England to face off against the Patriots, who have played a whole season of ugly games, if we're honest here. They've looked bad all year. This is more of a bounce back game for the Bills than it is anything for the Patriots. I truly don't know where the Patriots are going, so I can't put faith in them doing anything good. So the Bills, I think, win this game easy. And here we go again. This may be worse than last week with the ugly games, even though as we get down the list, there are a few very good games. The Commanders travel to New York, MetLife Stadium, to face off against the Giants. Daniel Jones might play this weekend. Sounds like he's been cleared to play. We'll see if it actually happens. I don't have faith that it will, but who knows. Sam Howell for the Commanders, meh. He's okay. He's not terrible, but he's certainly not great. So this game has all the writings of ugly. Same with this one. The Atlanta Falcons travel to Tampa Bay to face off against the Buccaneers, the creamsicle-less Buccaneers, back to their normal pewter and bronze, or pewter and red. I don't know. They're back to their normal colors this week. Off that huge letdown, the Buccaneers, this is a very much a bounce back game for them, and it's coming up against an opponent that I think is the best opponent you would want in this situation for a bounce back situation, because if we're honest, the Falcons aren't good. They just seem to have some type of dark magic when they're playing at home, and this game's not at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, so I think the Buccaneers bounce back here. One of the more interesting games for me this week, it is the Lions traveling to Baltimore to face off against the Ravens. Ravens team coming off a win in London. So obviously body clock and all that. They flew over there, I believe, Monday and got there Tuesday last week. So their body clock was set by Sunday. Flying back to Baltimore, readjusting to all that. It's going to be an interesting watch there, because if they come out slow, I think the Lions can punch them, and it may just be over there. I think this one more entertaining games of the week. If both teams are up to their standards, it's going to be high scoring, back and forth battle. Basically, whoever has the ball last wins. Feel like that could happen if both teams are playing up to their potential. In the 4:05 window, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming off their bye, traveling to LA to face off against the Rams. The Rams have looked quite good lately. The Steelers have not, which leads me just to believe the Steelers somehow win this game. But kind of like the Falcons, the Steelers have a dark magic of winning at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. So I think the Rams win this one. I won't say easy, but easier. The Seahawks travel to Arizona to face off against the Cardinals. The Cardinals team that has put up fight, even though they are tanking, obviously. Big news, Kyler Murray practicing this week. Is he coming off the IR anytime soon? Who knows? Is he going to play this season? Who knows? But I think that's a step forward for them. Maybe get him out on the field just to show what he still has, and then that makes him a more valuable trade asset, I guess I would say, especially if you're tanking to get the first overall pick. You're most likely picking one of the 5 quarterbacks coming out in this draft. So I don't know what the Cardinals do in this situation. Do you just sit him the rest of the year and say, look at the previous tape, trade based on that? Or do you put him out there hoping that he does better and maybe up the value of him? I don't know. In the 4:25 window, the Green Bay Packers, off of their bye, travel to Denver to face off against the Broncos team that just looks completely lost out there. This is a real game for the Packers to prove that they're actually progressing if they can get a win here. If they can't and they lose to this Broncos team, I think major questions have to be asked about the Packers and the coaching staff and some of the players also, because at this moment, you can't be losing to the Denver Broncos. They're just that bad. In an AFC West battle, the Los Angeles Chargers travel to Kansas City to face off against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs win this game easy. The Chargers are so lost right now. And I really don't know what else to say about them, except they're quite lost and wasting some valuable talent on their team. Into the Sunday Night Football game, which is a game I am so excited to watch because these two teams have been really showing out this year. It is the Miami Dolphins traveling to Philadelphia to face off against the Eagles. The Eagles bringing back their throwback uniforms this week, the old Kelly Green uniforms. This is going to be an offensive masterpiece. I believe this is going to be such a beautiful game to watch from the offensive side of football, but also on the defensive side to see if they can slow down those offenses. So I cannot wait to watch this game. I think this is going to be, I'm not going to say high scoring, but I think you end up with a 35-33 final score or something like that. I think both of these teams are really going to show out this weekend. Given that it's in Philadelphia, I have to pick the Eagles here. But I really like this Dolphins team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off the win. And finally, in the Monday night game, it is the 49ers traveling to Minnesota to face off against the Vikings. A Vikings team kind of like the Broncos, just rudderless right now. Don't really know what they're doing. Facing off against a 49ers team that's going to be mad coming off that loss to Cleveland. And I expect the 49ers to roll a lot in this game. So given that, that is going to be it for Pigskin Perspectives. That is your weekend preview. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you just stumbled across this video, well, thank you for watching. Click like if you like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. Tell anybody you know about the channel. We will be back on Tuesday to recap all of this. But if you're in the mood for the other football, tomorrow night, the return of Back of the Net, back from the international break to preview everything happening in the European football, soccer landscape going on this weekend. So if you want to watch that, stay tuned for that. Otherwise, we will see you again on Tuesday for another episode of Pigskin Perspective.